So, Game of Thrones. Why don't we? You
Sure.
want to shift over to that?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Honestly, I've been thinking about like making a video on my other channel
I also
about
want
it.
to discuss the. I also want to discuss the NFL playoffs at some point.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, well, I mean, we can get that out of the way real quick. I mean, it comes
Okay.
down to four teams. Anyone but the Chiefs, please, please.
Yeah,
Anyone but
it's
the fucking Chiefs. Like,
the second
uh,
layer to that, though, is I'd like to see Commanders and Bills, and I think
me
the
too.
most of the country
Me
wants
too.
to see that Commanders and Bills.
I
I
think that'd
think
be a
most
great game.
people. I think most of the country would want the Bills in that one.
Yeah, just
The Commanders have really overachieved. This guy,
for
Jaden
real.
Daniels, is Michael Vick 2.0. Like, this guy
I
is
I kind of agree with
absolutely
that.
great,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's like more wired. I mean, Michael Vick was
He was
built like a
wild.
brick shithouse. He's
No, yeah.
freaking stacked. The guy could bench press like 500 pounds or something. Jaden Daniels is a little bit more wiry, a little bit more. But he slings it, man. And that Commanders coach too, who I don't. He was the head coach of the Falcons when they lost to the Patriots in Super Bowl 51. Dan Quinn. So that's all by way of saying he's seasoned. He's learned a lot of lessons,
That
and very few coaches win a Super Bowl on their first team. They usually have to go make mistakes at a first team, and then they're great coaches at, if they're good, then they become great at their second team.
hmm
And I think Dan Quinn is capable of doing that, because I don't think Sirianni for the Eagles is all that great. I definitely don't think Jalen Hurts is all that great, and it's a division rivalry game. So I think the Commanders could definitely go in to Philly and win that. They came from behind and won earlier. It was a late season game,
that
but
it's
the
gonna be a
last
great
time that they
game.
played.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great game. Like that. I mean, for crying out loud, I was expecting the Lions to win that game because they've gone far.
Everybody
Like,
was.
yeah, fucking
Because they're the best team in the league.
ins-
They still are the best team in the league. They just lost that game.
Yeah, insane game. I really hope they do make it to the Super Bowl next year. Like, it was like the fucking Detroit Lions, them and like them in the Super Bowl. Because like they've been known as like the team for several years now as like losers. You know?
Yeah, they're like the
for-
Browns. They were like the Browns for a really long time. The
That's-
Browns is like
that's
the
right.
standard.
Yeah.
The Browns is like the standard for loserdom in the NFL.
Them and the Jaguars.
Because at least the Bengals have made it to a few Super Bowls, but the Jaguars have only been around for 30 years. They haven't been around since the beginning of the league.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
Simping for the dogfighter. Megan.
you saying? Say.
Simping for the dogfighter now. What is going on? She's being sarcastic about
Michael Vick.
about Michael Vick. Yeah, she's being a
Oh,
little
I
sarcastic.
have a tough time with that too with Michael Vick.
Of
but
course,
he
of course.
did pay for it. I actually don't think that just because someone went to jail for something, when they get out, they're like absolved of their sins. Like, they still
Sure.
did it.
No,
Like,
yeah,
they still did
yeah.
it, and there should be social consequences too. But he actually did. It did feel like he was sorry and was caught up in a weird subculture.
No, of
that
course and I think
neither you or I can really relate to.
no, of course, of course. I think he's even like trying to make some sort of comeback too, like with something. I'm not exactly sure.
Well,
what
he
it
was
is,
on
something in
Fox,
media.
so I actually know the answer to that. So he
Yeah.
was on Fox NFL Sunday this season, I think the last couple seasons, and he is going to go coach at Norfolk State in Virginia, which is a historically black college.
That's what it was.
So,
He was going to be a coach.
yeah, he's going to try to do what Deion Sanders is doing.
That's an
Um,
okay, interesting.
Yeah, there's a
Really
possibility that Deion Sanders goes to the Cowboys and the Cowboys draft his kid. That would be pretty crazy to see happen, but we'll see.
no, for real.
I'd like to see Deion ride it out in Colorado and see if he can't win a title there, because he's going to be great for recruiting. But anyway, the Commanders, yeah, the Lions. Everybody wanted Lions Bills when the tournament started,
Yeah,
because that way it would have been a guarantee for a first time winner. So now there's no guarantee it's going to. Well, Commanders are a new franchise, but they're when they
Right.
were the Redskins, they won 3.
no, right. Yeah. Megan even says the Lions deserve a Super Bowl, and I agree. I think. I mean, maybe next year, maybe they'll get their shot, but
They deserve a Super Bowl. That's interesting. The word deserve, merit, earned within the context of sports. It's either you win or you lose. Like, no, they don't deserve a championship. They have the talent. I mean, it's like saying the Ravens deserve a championship because they're a damn good team too. And the last time they played, the Ravens smoked them. So the Ravens don't deserve a championship because they choked.
Yeah,
that guy Andrews dropped the ball. Like, it's not. It might not feel fair, but it actually, unless there's really bad refereeing, it is fair, and it's supposed to be a meritocratic system. And so the Lions blew it. The Lions turned the ball over 5 times. And the thing that the cardinal sin of the National Football League is to turn the ball over.
I think. Well, if I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, like, just like the idea is like.
Fans have been loyal and waiting their turn. Like, it's their turn.
I mean, you could argue that, but like, I don't know how far you're gonna get with that. But I think they had the best record this season. Like,
yes, they only lost one game.
That's right. Yeah. That's
they only lost one game in the regular season.
That's fucking insane. But like, what gets me is, oh God, what was God, where. I
the
lost
Lions
it.
Deserve a Super Bowl.
No. It was something
playing devil's
before
advocate
that.
for Megan.
Like you talked about refereeing. I think a lot of it does come down to that, because I actually came across a clip recently from the Super Bowl where it was the Chiefs versus the Eagles. And that
2 years ago,
that really bad call.
Yes.
Like close to the end of the game where they were tied at 35, and
it should have gone to OT because the Chiefs were going to kick a field goal, and then there was going to be about a minute and a half left.
Yeah.
The Eagles had been moving the ball pretty well, so it's safe to assume the Eagles would have had a really good chance at least tying and maybe even winning that game if that penalty hadn't been called. So, yeah, that was suspect.
Bullshit.
So there was also a suspect officiating in the Bengals-Rams Super Bowl, which was 56, I believe. Maybe 56. Or
Super Bowl 56?
So. Yeah, because 55 was Bucks-Chiefs, and then 56 was Bengals-Rams.
That's right. It was the Bengals and Rams. That's right.
And then 57 was Eagles and Chiefs.
Right.
58 was last year, which was Niners and Chiefs.
I remember
and then
now.
59 is this year.
That's right.
So the Eagles could have. That's why I liked. I mean, I really like the overtime bet. And as a matter of fact, I predicted overtime in last year's Super Bowl on the Vanguard last year. So I don't know if this year's Super Bowl, we'll see what the matchup is.
Right.
It's going to go to overtime, but the salary cap has really produced a lot of parity, and it's ironic. Like, if you want to make an argument for socialism, it's like the idea of revenue share. Like the NFL, America's greatest sports product, is very socialist. Revenue sharing and making sure all the teams are taken care of, and everybody gets the best treatment. Like, it's, even if you're the Jaguars, you still have the same financial ability as the New York Giants. Yeah. Right? Like, that's socialism. And that's actually fair. That's a fair competitive system.
Right. Why can't we apply that to fucking broader society? Goddamn.
Well, we do, and there's a political impetus too. There's historical examples like Teddy Roosevelt with the trust busting, where we've gone through this before. But we don't have that leadership right now.
Right, yeah.
And that relates to a DNC cultural quality of equality. And I've talked about this before. They've made it ubiquitous, and they think everyone's a leader. And part of our advocacy on here is saying no, and this comes from sports. It's like, not everyone's a leader. Right. Very few people are actually leaders. It's actually like one captain, 2 captains, 3 captains tops per team.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Going back to refereeing, I don't know if you picked up on this, but I've come across a few clips where officiating of games played by the Chiefs
Yes, the Chiefs are favored. Yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, the league loves the Chiefs because they
They're
want. So that's the
yeah,
ironic part of
yeah.
sports. Okay, so when was the last time baseball was really kicking ass in a mass appeal? It's when the Yankees were kicking ass. So the weird, unexpected part, counterintuitive. The most
Well,
counterintuitive part of the sports media is that you would think most people want a rotating carousel of champions. They want a different champion every year for like 10 straight years. Actually, what's better for ratings is to have one team be dominant in that decade and everybody hate them. And that's what the Patriots were for 20 years.
yeah,
And the Patriots era constitutes the greatest growth of any sports product in the history of America.
yeah. And now it's the Chiefs' turn.
And now it's the Chiefs' turn.
That's exactly it. They are the darlings of the NFL right now. And I
Yeah,
think
and there were a lot of calls that went the Patriots' way that shouldn't have.
no, right, of course, and like it's just
There
so
were also a lot of calls that went against the Patriots, which I can talk about in reference that fucked us a few times. I mean, that's if you look at the in the Patriots seasons, they almost always made it to the AFC Championship game.
right. No, of course, yeah,
It was a 2-game season. It was the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. I mean, and that's one thing that Patriots fans got that very few fan bases have is they have a context that motivates you to pay attention to the entire league. When you're the best team, when you're the Yankees of the NFL for 20 years, you're going to start to pay attention to the league as a whole, especially because there's only one game per week. So there's
yeah,
actually a manageable data set there that you can do. And so
right.
very only Chiefs fans can really relate to this now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and compare that to baseball, where there's like a few games a week usually. And speaking of which, you mentioned the last time that baseball was really popping off, like culturally, is when the
Yeah, it was when the Yankees.
Were a
Yeah.
franchise. When was the last time they when was the last year they were considered like a dominant force?
The Yankees, they were in the World Series this year,
Oh yeah.
weren't they? Yeah, 2024 World Series. Pretty sure. Yeah, no, yeah, it was the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Were they before this? Were they lackluster, and that's why it hasn't been like.
No, they've been relevant, but it's just because it's the Yankees. You either win the World Series or it's a losing season.
Okay.
That's just the way it goes. Once you've won multiple championships, I mean, even for Niners fans now, it's you either win the Super Bowl or it was a loser season.
Right.
And that's probably the way it is for Cowboys fans too.
Right. Yeah. Because
Of all the aristocratic brand name teams in the NFL, I think life has been toughest for the Cowboys fans since the 90s, for the last 25 years.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
they had that 3 out of 4 thing, and then they
Yeah.
just sucked. Jerry Jones's ownership style. Well, I mean, it's not a coincidence that the salary cap was implemented right in the middle of their dynasty. So
Right.
that created a greater emphasis on talent as well as coaching talent, not just on the field, but coaching talent and coaching style.
Right. The reason why I bring up is because I don't really pay much attention to baseball at all. Like, because I'm a Giants guy, San Francisco Giants all my life.
Right.
And I remember just how fucking poppin' they were in the early 2010s.
Yeah,
Was
sure.
it World Series
Didn't they
2010?
win 3 out of 5 or something?
Yeah, 2010, 2012, and 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think they won all 3 of those. I forget, but I know that I know that they went to all 3 of those World Series for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I completely, I totally see it now. Like, because it does come down to a ratings thing, which of course,
Yeah.
fucking maximizing profits. If you
And
have
then
if you have an
the
unstoppable
ratings and
dynasty,
the
then-
rating
yeah, go
the
ahead.
ratings in sports a lot of times revolve around rivalries.
Yes.
And there's no greater rivalry in professional sports in America than Yankees Red Sox. So I don't think that baseball will ever achieve the success that it had in 2003 and 2004 when the ALCS featured the Yankees and the Red Sox. And it was kind of a passing of the torch where in 2003 there was this quintessential Red Sox loss in Game 7 off of a home run by Aaron Boone, who would later become a Yankees manager. And that ended their season. The next year, in 2004, the Yankees get up 3-0 in games. And then the Red Sox do something that no Major League Baseball team has ever done, either since as well, which is come back from 3 games and win 4 in a row to win the series.
Really?
So yeah, you don't. Yeah, see,
it's before my time a little bit.
I know, but it's history. Everybody should know about the 2004 Red Sox because that's the only time that's ever happened, and that comeback. So that's one of the 2 greatest moments in Boston sports history. The other being Super Bowl 51 when the Patriots were down 28-3. And they came back and forced overtime and won that game in overtime, and it's considered the greatest Super Bowl ever. See, you're a little bit younger than me. You don't really remember maybe when the Super Bowl was god-awful. The Super Bowl used to be a blowout every time, and then Elway and the Broncos beat the Packers and denied the Packers from going back-to-back because the previous season the Packers had beaten the Patriots.
That was the late 90s, wasn't it?
And that was 97, yeah.
Yeah. I know. I did just a little bit. Of course, like not witnessing it, like not being alive for it, not understanding like the cultural significance, of course, because it is still like before my time. But I know it's just a little bit. But
well, we're trying to get lefties into sports, and
this is going to be a whole ass segment. Just the sports talk will be posted on my channel. Yeah.
Well, it'd be cool to get on Emma Viglin's channel because she talks sports.
Exactly. You know what? Like what better person to get on?
In fairness, I haven't watched it. I don't know if she deals with like what can we learn from the psychology of sports, which is just the psychology of competition.
It would be great to pick her mind about that, honestly.
Yeah, or share our thoughts and have her learn from us.
Of course.
We've done a little bit more thinking about it.
Of course.
Did you ever play contact sports?
I played football in high school, yeah.
So you did? Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember there's no replacement for experience. So I think men who have played contact sports have a certain appreciation for contact sports that other people do not have.
Right.
And it's the specific experience of getting laid out and getting knocked on your ass. It's not the experience of like blowing by. For me, it was lacrosse. So like the experience of blowing by somebody and shooting and scoring, that's fun and all. But really the value for me from lacrosse was actually getting knocked on my ass and learning how to get back up and learning how to just keep going.
Yeah.
And keep competing, because just because I got knocked on my ass doesn't mean we're going to lose this game. It just means I made a bad play and I can make up for it.
It's a really special, unique experience, honestly, and like it really gets me because every now and then I think about like, what if I went to college and played football? What if I was still in the shape I was in high school when I did play football? Like how far could I have taken it? You know, it's like I was never really like a starter per se. You know, I played tight end, I played defensive end, I was nose tackle on defense. I think I even played corner a couple times. But
really?
Yeah.
So you were fast?
Sorta. I mean, not as fast as like you know a running back or a wide receiver, but you know I was tall and like I still am. I think I'm like 4'3". No, 6'3", and but I did like tight end because of the opportunity to receive a ball. You know, it's just the possibility of getting touchdowns. Because it definitely fit me too because of my height and you know, but I like obviously I wasn't like good enough to be starter during like at any point, but I did play during like some games here and there. So like I'm really grateful for that experience, and I totally agree. Like just like actually like participating in contact sports is a unique
Yeah.
experience, and it does give you a certain perspective that not a lot of people have, especially for fans of that kind of thing.
It's almost like a familiarity with violence that makes you more comfortable with conflict and competition.
Right. I agree with
And
that.
it's something that really only men can experience because, as far as I know, we don't have any women contact sports except for maybe roller derby. But the other thing about the NFL is the implicit entertainment value derives from its superlative position in all of the world's sports, right? In no other sport are you getting as much violent physical contact on every play than you are in football. More than hockey, more than lacrosse, even more than rugby, because it's a sprint contact, like going over the middle as a wide receiver and getting laid out.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice is the guy that I will talk about the most when I talk about sports figures that we should emulate, because Jerry Rice was very talented, but it was actually his work ethic that made him the greatest wide receiver ever. The most talented wide receiver ever is Randy Moss.
Yeah.
The most classy player in the history of the National Football League is Jerry Rice. Every time they celebrated him, he would give credit to his teammates, whether it was his quarterback and Joe Montana or Steve Young, or whether it was the offensive lineman or coach or anything like that. He would just defer the glory to them because he recognized that his glory was only made possible by their efforts.
Yeah.
So that's a good way of explaining the evolution that needs to take place in the democratic recruiting system.
Yeah.
We need competitors. We need people who hate losing. We need people who have obsessive minds that wake up every day wanting to creatively communicate competitive messages to the American public.
Bingo. Completely
And
agree.
that might carry with it some danger. We'll find out in these next 4 years. That proposition might become very dangerous in Trump's America.
No, for real. Megan says, benched Andrews all season in fantasy after his projection was insane. Andrews, that's...
From the Ravens, yeah.
Oh, that's...
He's the one who dropped the 2-point conversion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. that was it, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the Ravens were going to win that game. At the beginning, before the game started, I was like, the Bills are going to have to play their tails off to beat this team because the Ravens are coming in hotter than they were.
Right.
And so I think that game might, if the Bills are able to win the Super Bowl and go all the way, fine. God, it would be great for the league. And if they do, though, it'll be that game that people look at as like, wow, they really grew up. They really became a unit and worked together and didn't make mistakes. They let the other team make the mistakes. So that's the tragic nature of sports, particularly NFL, is more games are lost as opposed to won.
Yes.
Most games are decided by mistakes, not amazing plays.
Yeah.
Because everyone's so good. Because
Yeah.
everyone's so good. So the norm is going to be that defense doesn't make a mistake. But there's also coaching, play calling. Like that's really the most fun part for me watching football is imagine being the offensive coordinator or whoever the play caller is, and
I like the Harbaughs. The Harbaughs.
Yeah, I like Jim. John is very conservative.
Oh yeah,
and I hate the Ravens. I hate the Ravens, right? Like I hate the Ravens more than any other team in the NFL.
No, I did not know that. I mean, I don't blame you because like when I was 18, they played against the 49ers. It was the Harbaugh,
right?
And they fucking beat the 49ers, and I was so pissed.
Yeah, Super Bowl 47, I believe, right? Because 46 was the Patriots losing to the Giants for the second time.
I think that's
48 was Peyton Manning getting embarrassed in New York City by the Seahawks, and then 49 was A lot of people consider 49 the greatest Super Bowl ever because it was kind of a seesaw game and it was close the whole time. That was the Seahawks Patriots with the Malcolm Butler interception at the 1 yard line.
Mm.
But I think it's Super Bowl 51 because there's no more entertaining a game. There's no more rewarding of a game in terms of watching it than watching a team go from hell at 28-3 to coming back, forcing overtime, and winning. Right?
Yeah.
That's in terms of
Yeah.
comebacks. There's only been 8 comebacks in NFL history of 25 points or greater. And
Right.
one of them was Super Bowl 51. So
Right. I will say, I mean, fucking can't stand the Ravens, but I will say Lamar Jackson is really
Oh,
fucking...
I respect them as
he's-
competitors.
He's so
this
fun
is a
to
good
watch.
So here's a fun question for us. Nixon, who's like my favorite evil president, right? I'm fascinated by Nixon. He's just so ugly and like how the hell did a guy who looked like that in the era of TV become president?
Right.
And he was just such an asshole. He's just so awkward. Like, I want to
Yeah.
understand Nixon. It's like I want to go back in time and help him so he didn't have to do so much damage to the office.
For
But-
real.
He said one time, a reporter asked him, he said, "Why do you hate us being the media?" He said, "I don't hate you because if I hated you, that would mean that I respect you." That's a very interesting understanding of hate. Like, if you hate someone, does that mean that you respect them? And maybe that's how we get around this understanding of MAGA America as overgrown children, is I don't hate them because I don't respect them.
Right.
I hate the ideology. I hate the leaders because I actually do respect their ability to wield power because look at what they've done with it.
Yeah.
But I don't respect the citizens that are actually casting the votes, so I don't hate them. I don't hate MAGA trash. I just don't respect them.
That's
And I
actually
think the world would be better off if they weren't allowed to vote.
that's a great way of looking at it, because for me it's like I fucking hate Donald Trump. I am so sick of him. I wish he would just go away. I am tired of seeing him. I'm tired of listening to him. I'm tired of how fucking stupid the things he says are and how fucking frustrating he is to fucking deal with. But also, I do kind of respect him in the way, because
I respect him as a competitor,
sure, because like that, yeah, like
but he breaks
like,
the rules. He doesn't care about the rules.
exactly. It's like
He plays
like
dirty.
the
Plays dirty.
Democrats can learn from that. It's like it's like what we talk about with football. It's like fucking learn to have that competitive edge, that competitive mentality, like want to win. But like anyway, he does come off as a competitor, and like he's been.
Don't forget, he went to military school for high school. He went to a military academy for high school. So
I didn't know that.
That instilled.
Interesting.
That's his foundation of competitiveness, and he wanted to be better than his alcoholic brother, who ended up dying.
Oh, for
And
sure.
He wanted to make his dad proud because he was like the surviving son.
For sure. I actually didn't know that. I mean, that actually kind of checks out a whole hell of a lot. But like, either way, like I would respect him a whole hell of a lot more if he just was not president. Like he of
Yeah, he
course,
definitely
like
overstepped. He overstepped, but he got away with it because
He did.
of our system.
no, for real, and like he's fucking unintentionally funny. In a whole bunch of different ways, and it'd be
He's stupid funny. He's not.
He is
like,
stupid funny,
He's not,
like-
he's not smart funny. He's stupid funny.
Yeah, he's just a fucking goofy, awkward fuck like that has barely enough charisma to where it comes off as kind of charming sometimes.
Right.
But he not with with the kind of power he has and what he has done to the country and what he plans to do, that's where it's just a fucking brick wall for me. I can't go past that, you know?
The most insightful thing I learned about evil in storytelling from film school was that the bad guy doesn't think he's the bad guy.
Yes.
The bad guy thinks he's
Yes.
the good guy.
Yes.
Something to keep
Exactly.
in mind. And there we go again with the oversimplicity that modern media encourages in people's cognition. There are different kinds of evil. There's different kinds of bad. There's
Yeah.
different kinds of insanity. There's different kinds of stupidity. And we need leaders who understand most, if not all of them. You have to
Yeah.
understand the enemy in order to defeat them. That's a lesson from competition in the NFL, where the salary cap makes it so that any given Sunday, Team A can beat Team B, no matter what the point spread is.
Right.
The New York Jets were 18-point underdogs to the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III, and they won that game because the public had no fucking idea how good the Jets were, and that it's still a football game. And this was before the salary cap, obviously, but the point is that upsets can happen. 2016 was a huge upset. 2016 was a huge upset. 2008 Democratic primary with Obama over Clinton was an upset.
Mm-hmm.
She was the favorite going into that.
Yeah.
So America likes an underdog if you're on the left, and that's why I'm not convinced it's going to be Newsom. It probably will be, but I'm not convinced.
I
We'll
hope
see
there's
what
an
happens.
upset. I don't want him.
So we both want Commanders Bills in the Super Bowl.
I think, yeah. I would prefer that over, yeah. Overall, like, yeah.
I
mean,
wish the Bills were hosting this game. It's really a bummer that it's in Arrowhead, but they've gone in there and played well before. I don't think they've gone in there and won in a long time, but the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season, so usually...
Was it at Arrowhead, though?
No, it was in Buffalo.
Okay.
And the Ravens beat the Bills in the regular season, and then the Ravens just lost to the Bills. So usually the team that loses the regular season game wins the postseason game. It's a weird norm that isn't always true, but it very often does ring true. It actually happened in college football this postseason with the Ducks and with the Oregon Ducks and the Ohio State Buckeyes. They had played earlier in the regular season, and the Ducks barely beat the Buckeyes, and then they saw each other in the Rose Bowl, which is a game I actually went to, and they destroyed them. The Buckeyes destroyed the Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
So, we could have won in 2024 is kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, we could have won.
Yeah.
We could have won.
Yeah.
And it's only by learning from the games that you could have won do you become a better competitor. The left thinks it's just enough to have the best arguments. That's what
Not anymore.
That's what they don't understand.
Not
No,
anymore.
but I don't think it's ever been enough.
Right.
I don't think
No,
it's ever
of
been
course,
enough.
Of
I don't think
course.
it's ever been enough. It's not good enough to have a good product. You got to sell it. You got to put it in the marketplace in a way that's going to give it a good chance of being sold. And the same is in a free society where there's a marketplace of ideas that's now distributed through modern media, which has become infiltrated with conservative propaganda. And,
Right.
some lefty propaganda too, I guess. Although the lefty propaganda is the inverse of the conservative propaganda, because the conservative propaganda is really extreme. It's right wing as fuck. There's a lot of anti-Trump Republicans out there, but they're the minority. Whereas on the left, the majority is Obama, Clinton, Biden neoliberals, who just aren't doing their homework. I think that they fall to the same problem that a lot of conservatives do, where if they knew more about Obama's policies, if they knew more about Clinton's policies, they wouldn't want them at the conventions. They wouldn't want to promote them. They wouldn't have interviews with them on MSNBC every other goddamn month.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No,
just
I
we're
couldn't
so
agree more.
desperate to look like winners. We just gotta be like, oh, remember the good old days when Clinton was president and we were in charge? It's like, well, look at his policies, and you realize that no, it wasn't a long-term positive for him to be president.
No, yeah. Megan even agrees. She says neoliberal propaganda mostly. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, this idea that like capitalism, that this idea fundamentally that incrementalism is going to save the day is ridiculous.
yes.
It has just been proven like over the last 8 years, more so than it had been in the previous 16, 36 years, whatever, that incrementalism just doesn't work in this country. The country's too damn big.
Yeah.
The country's too damn big. We need sweeping structural change. It could have just been sweeping change if we had done it 20, 30 years ago. If Gore had won, for example, in 2000 rather than W.
If only.
Right? We could
If
have
only.
had, maybe incrementalism or like incrementalism 2.0
A head
could
start
have worked.
on climate change
Could have worked.
mitigation.
Yeah, maybe it could have worked if Gore had won that election, but Bill Clinton decided to get blowjobs in the Oval Office, and so he lost by a razor thin margin, and he should have blown him out.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, honestly. Um, yeah, Megan, I hope you're coming to the Super Bowl party, by the way. I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna have like a big old get together for my at my place for the big game for sure.